Welcome to Chicken Yard Sports. I am your host, Yak Blunderland, along with Earl Blasterson. And week 15. Some good games, some shit games. Basically,
Week 16.
week 16. Winners from the losers. Some teams suck. Some teams are not mathematically eliminated, but they're fucking eliminated. Vikings
and we
Broncos.
lost too. Even we lost at Chicken Yard by getting COVID.
Everyone's down. Everyone's down big.
COVID Yard Sports over here, both of us. And the star of the show, the Bell, even getting sick. It's just been a shit week.
It has been a shit week to say the least. But let's run through some of the scores. The Las Vegas Raiders beat the Denver Broncos 17-13 after the Denver Broncos don't put up a single point in the second half. They basically said, run game. We don't need a run game. We have Drew Lock at quarterback.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like, the only reason it was 17-13 is because of Bradley Chubb. Like, if he doesn't get that interception and get it inside the 5-yard line, I don't know that the Broncos score a touchdown that game.
Yeah, facts. The Melvin Gordon had 7 carries for -4 yards. Javonte also had 7 carries for 12 yards. And Drew Lock was 2 for 10. So we ran the ball 16 times.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
Just more trash play calling. I mean, it's like beating a dead horse at this point. Pat Shurmur is a fucking joke. He does not deserve to be calling plays in the NFL yet. Here he is still calling. And then Vic on the defensive side of the ball had absolutely no answer for Josh Jacobs, who just ran rampant today. Like, it was just chunk play after chunk play. I mean, he was 27 for 129, averaging 4.8, and it was just like anytime, to end the game, anytime he wanted to get 6-7 yards, it was just like at will.
Yeah, especially that last drive. They just couldn't do a goddamn thing to stop him. And you were right. You were saying all game that Drew Lock wasn't even playing that bad, and he really wasn't. And you had guys like Jerry Jeudy having a horrible drop in the first half, and then you have
a good game and then a horrible drop. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have Albert O. It looked like Desmond Trufant got his hand on it, but like still Albert O didn't even attempt to come back to the ball. And that was on like 2nd and 10 on that last drive before it turned into 4th and 16 or whatever. And it's like Albert O his feet are in motion like he's trying to score a touchdown. And it's just like, bro, it's 2nd and 10 with like 5 minutes left in the game. Like, come back to the ball and make that catch. The first down is way too important right there. Like, yes, big plays are great and everything, but like, help Drew out, you know?
Yeah.
And they did nothing, like you said, to establish the run game, which is just going to kill the Broncos and continue to kill them. Like, you have to give our running backs the ball like 30, 35 times a game for them to be successful, at least, just because.
Yeah, not 16. But then again, like, anytime we tried to run the ball, I mean, when Melvin was 7 for -4 yards, it's like just an offensive stalwart today. Like, nothing was happening whatsoever.
Well, and it goes back to the play calling. Like, they had this one early in the game where it was a running back draw, which have actually worked pretty well in the NFL this year. And, like, Drew Lock turns to the left, fakes a handoff, and then spins around, does, like, this weird spin, and then finally hands it off to Javonte. And it's like, you can't call a fake run draw play. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, the defense is supposed to be expecting pass for a draw play to work, and you're faking a run. It's just like the most asinine shit I've ever seen. So hopefully Pat Shurmur will be out the door, and like Drew Lock finally looked somewhat.
He didn't lose the game today. Like, did he play great?
No.
By no means he played great. But I mean, like, when you're a backup quarterback and you have 1 week of first team reps and you come in, he did what he needed to do for the Broncos to, at least have a chance to win the game. But
he finally wasn't a liability, which is something you haven't been able to say very often about him. So it's just brutal. It was awesome to see Bradley Chubb make that huge play. And have Javonte at least score a touchdown. But yeah, it was just a really tough
But
end to the year.
We'll move it on from there. Not the only disappointing loss in the AFC West today, as the Houston Texans blew the doors off the Los Angeles Chargers and fully embedded the fraud logo above them. As it's just like, if you need to win every game you can to make the playoffs, you cannot lose to the Houston fucking Texans with David Mills as your court. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like I thought the Chargers were supposed to be contenders earlier this year, and then they're just getting their shit kicked in by the Texans. It's so funny. That box score was just incredible, and I didn't even check that game earlier today because I was just like, oh, well, I'm sure the Chargers are just taking care of business. But
yeah, they let up 24 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, dude, it was absolutely hilarious. The Chargers, they're never, ever going to be.
They're out now, I believe.
I mean, they're 8-7. They're the same.
Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind.
But
they still have a chance, but not much of a chance after doing some shit like that.
Yeah, you can't lose to the fucking Houston Texans. And I mean, if they're not out, they should be eliminated just because they lost to the
Houston. Yeah, you should be eliminated.
You guys technically have the 7 seed, or even if they're in, but you lost to the Texans today, so we're actually just going to take you out.
Yeah, you forfeited your wild card position by embarrassing yourself too badly.
Yep.
And then we can move on to the Chiefs, who just absolutely decimated the Steelers, which is always great to see. I hate the fucking Steelers, and you don't like to see Kansas City looking this good going into the playoffs. So, I mean, everybody slept on them all year and hasn't been taking them seriously, but it's like, Kansas City can lose games and still be considered dangerous, and now they're in prime form, just ready to, butt fuck the rest of the league going into the playoffs. So
yeah, I mean, 2 more games remaining. Is it 2 more games or is it 3 more games?
No, 2 more games. 17 and 18.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the AFC is going to be going through Kansas City. They're not going to be losing enough games with the Titans to win out, or the Bengals. Well, I guess the Bengals play the Chiefs next week, don't they? So
technically, I think they just have to win one to get the number 1 spot. I could be wrong, but
the Bengals?
No, Kansas City.
They only need to win 1 game to win. Yes, that is correct. But they play the Bengals next week, and then they finish up in Denver, maybe.
Or in Denver.
Yeah, in Denver.
Or against Denver, I don't know.
No, in Denver. It's in Denver. And, I mean, who knows if they lose to the Bengals next week and the Bengals win their final game and Denver beats KC, then the AFC will be going through Cincinnati.
Incredible. Let's go Burrows, baby.
Let's go fucking Burrows, who, I mean, we got to brush on that game today, too.
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely pound the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Burrow throws for 525 yards.
Just the biggest balls on the block. You gotta fucking love it. And Joe Burrow finally coming to the point of that superstar that people thought he could be. And I mean, I'm not saying that he's established himself as a superstar, but that kind of play, if he does a few more games like that, it'll be pretty undeniable that he is the real fucking deal, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a crazy week for the Burrows, and the
Bengals are just sick. They have T. Higgins going 12 catches for 194 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, he's a young guy. They have these good young receivers, and T. Higgins was a rookie, I think, last year, and now you have Jamar Chase as a rookie, and it's just, they're fucking sick.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely crushing. And the Ravens, they're starting to slip away, and I'd be getting scared. They're in the playoffs right now, but without Lamar, it's like shit. They can only lose so many more games. They have Miami, the Chargers, the Raiders, right, the Steelers, the Browns technically, and the Broncos, but not really. And the Broncos or Browns.
They got a lot of help from the Browns yesterday too.
Oh yeah,
and the Steelers getting just crushed by KC today helped them as well. But yeah, I mean, without Lamar, the Ravens are super fraudulent. And I mean,
another team that's fraudulent though. is the New England Patriots. They beat the shit out of a bunch of bad teams. They won that game in Buffalo. That was not even a football game, in my opinion.
Right.
When push comes to shove today, in any kind of decent weather, the Buffalo Bills thoroughly outplayed the New England Patriots.
And that was in Foxborough. I will say though, like I watched the first half and like it was pretty evenly matched, but then the second half the Bills just took the game over.
Yeah.
But like Mac Jones doesn't look bad in that offense. And in all honesty, if they had some more weapons on the outside, they might be pretty dangerous because like N'Keal Harry had a horrible drop today.
Oh yeah.
Mac Jones is athletic enough and he makes really smart decisions. I mean, I think
2 interceptions today. I mean, he was averaging 4.5 yards a completion.
Yeah, but I mean, still, like some of his throws and decision making are really good. Like he can move the ball at least. Like you can be confident that game in and game out, you can actually run an offense, except for that game against Buffalo where Bill was just trolling everybody and only threw the ball 3 times. But no, I mean, I was just personally, I know they lost and he didn't have the greatest game, but for who Mac Jones is, I've been pretty impressed with him as of late. And
no, agreed.
Then the Bills have a humongous game from Isaiah Mckenzie filling in for Cole Beasley amid all that bullshit. And like Isaiah Mckenzie just goes off for like 125 yards on, I think, 11 catches and scores a touchdown. And that was huge because they have a really good point. Like when Cole Beasley isn't out there, defense can kind of just key on Diggs the whole time. So they really need at least one other option out there to keep them honest. And if Isaiah McKenzie can step up, that's great because he's like a 4.3 40 guy out of Georgia who was just a really good return guy that the Broncos drafted and just didn't pan out with them. But he has insane speed and is a great athlete. So that's fun to watch for the Bills. And the Bills running game was just cooking today. Like Singletary had multiple runs of like 15 yards just straight up the middle. It's really great to see.
Well, and their schedule finishes against the Falcons and the Jets. So the Bills are hopefully, winning out and going into the playoffs. This was a huge game for them as they didn't yet clinch the AFC East, but they took a massive step to clinching it, especially playing the Falcons and the Jets for the final 2 games of the season.
And the 2 seed is going to have like 6 losses or more maybe this year, which is just crazy because, I mean, the Bengals, I think they have 6 losses and the Bills do as well. So like that 2nd seed might have 5 or 6 losses, which is crazy, assuming the Titans lose a couple games. But yeah, it's just going to be a wild finish. And then, I mean, in the NFC, you have the Bucks clean up with Antonio Brown just balling the fuck out.
Oh, yeah, just balling the fuck out, being a number 1 wide receiver once again and just taking it to him.
Making everybody hate him in the NFL even more because it's like, dude uses a fake vaccination card and he's just back on the field just destroying people.
Yeah, it is great. But week 16, what a week of football. Very fun. The rest of the games kind of sucked and didn't really matter. But
we have the Cowboys tonight, which we'll get to as well. But yeah, week 16, we're getting there. It's almost playoff time. It's
almost playoff time, and it's starting to feel like it. I mean, these are some must-win games. I guess the last game we can touch on is the Rams took care of business against the Vikings. Yeah. But fuck, dude, Matthew Stafford, 3 interceptions, just looked like a hot piece of garbage all day.
And they only won by a touchdown when at one point I think they were up by 3 scores or something. Like they were slowly imploding towards the end of that game. It's just, and the Vikings, it's just like, man, y'all really have to move on from Kirk Cousins and like probably from Mike Zimmer as well because stuck in this land of mediocrity.
Oh, for sure. They need to move on from both those. I think everyone in Minnesota is done with Zimmer. I think he's a decent head coach, but sometimes you just need a refreshing. And Kirk Cousins is going to be gone too. And
do you want to contend or do you want to be 500? If you're content with being 500, then keep Zimmer. But if you actually want to contend, like you have to do something to get yourself over the hump. And I think that's drafting a quarterback this year and getting a new head coach for them, hopefully. But yeah, we'll see.
Yep. Well, that'll do it this week here at Chicken Yard Sports. We'll talk to you later after
Broncos.
Sunday. Yep. RIP Broncos, RIP Vikings. Yeah, all there is. Like, subscribe. Peace.
Do it.